and welcome to another episode of the Chromosomatics podcast. I'm your host, Charles Monroe, and today we have a friend of mine, Karen Willis, with us. Karen and I was introduced to Karen from one of my clients, and Karen does QHHT, which stands for Quantum Healing Hypnosis Technique. That's Dolores Cannon's hypnosis regression technique, and I've actually used Karen myself for a hypnosis session, the QHHT session, which I didn't think anyone could ever regress me, and she was able to do it. But I also have clients that I send to her, and I tend to send them over when I realize that when we're working with something that's going on in their current life, it's not necessarily an epigenetic issue, like something that's in their DNA, but it's more something like a soul memory issue, something to do with past lives. And that's when I turn them over to Karen, where they can actually go there and look at some of these past lives that may be influencing their current life and current timeline. So I just wanted to give a brief introduction as to the connection between me and Karen and how I know about her work. So hello, Karen, how are you?
Hello, how are you?
Good.
Hello, everybody else who's watching.
So my first question for you is how did you get into the subject matter of past lives and just being interested in that before you even became a hypnotherapist?
Well, it's very interesting how this began. Spirit takes care of us when we're supposed to listen. So I was at a local library and I requested a book. And they gave me another book. And I said, that's not the book I requested. And she opened the book, and this is 1980s, okay? And they had my name written on it, Karen Willis. So I took the book. And the book opened the door to my spirituality, let's say. It was, when I read it, it resonated. It talked about Edgar Cayce and talked about reincarnation, something that I heard about, like, from India, that they believed in other lives, but it never resonated to me as much as when I read that book. It was like a door opening. That's the best way, or awakening. My first awakening, let's put it that way. So, and a lot of people said they wouldn't have taken the book. And that's very interesting, isn't it? That, and I remember saying, well, I guess I'm supposed to read this book, So I took the book. And so then it started my journey into research and like with Edgar Cayce and with Ruth Montgomery. And there wasn't a lot of books, but whatever I read, I was absorbing very fastly. So, so then I told my husband, I can read all the books in the world, but I need to actually experience it for myself. So I found the past life regressionist. And I had my past life experiences, and it changed me totally. You can't blame your parents any longer. You have to take responsibility because we chose everybody in our lives to come to learn and to experience. And it gave me a strength that I probably had, but didn't know I had. So it was awe-inspiring. So I went back to school after my children were born. They were like 5, 6, 7. And I got a degree in special education. And I taught special needs kids for years. And then I did stained glass for a few years after I quit my job after 15 years. And then Spirit was coming to me telling me I should do this work. And I asked friends of mine and they said, this is your passion, Karen. Yes, go for it. And I was like, why not? If it doesn't work, it's not going to work. And so then I found my first past life teacher, Henry Boldick. He actually answered the phone and I knew he was my teacher. So, and then when I went there, it was like everybody was speaking on the same language spiritually. Do you understand? So it was like wonderful because Not a lot of people were talking about it back then, too, because I've been doing it. That was 20 years ago, almost.
Mm.
So, so then I got involved in the Life Between Life, and I was teaching, helping with other people that were learning the Life Between Life experience. And so at the ARE, they asked me to come and help. And this gentleman told me to go see Dolores Cannon. And I was like, oh, okay. He said, you really need to go. I think this man had psychic abilities. So anyway, I waited, I guess it was maybe a year or so later, when the revolution in Egypt, where, it was chaos, because I was planning a trip to Egypt. And so I couldn't go because it was kind of, dangerous at that point. And I had saved money. And I said, oh, I saved money. I'll go see Dolores Cannon, because I had to go to Arkansas. That's where she is. And so, and it was life-changing for that experience as well. And I knew that this was like a step from the past life, because past life regressions are very, very powerful too. But I think the quantum healing is like a step up more. Would you agree? Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to ask that, if you could tell the folks, what is it about the quantum healing hypnosis technique of Dolores Cannon that kind of stood out from just your normal hypnotherapy?
In past life,
yeah.
So in the past life, you actually go through the past life regression, and I also help you release whatever you need to release from that lifetime. So I do take people to 2 past lives before I ask the subconscious to come through. Now, some people call it the higher self, the true self, whatever you want to call it. It's all the same. That's the part of us that has no ego and no personality and no emotion. That's the part that we're connected to source, basically. So, and this is where you can ask any questions or any lifetime. So you don't have to come back for 50 million lifetimes. You can kind of understand it in that one session. Also, it's your time to ask those questions. Some people come in with 3 questions, and I'm like, well, then we go over them, and there's much more questions that they have. So I tell people, this is your chance to ask questions. So what happens is it's almost like channeling, I would say, your higher self. Your ego can listen, but it does not interfere. And I know when it comes through. So I try to get you back into that subconscious. So that is the truth, more so because there's no ego or personality. So there's no history on this planet of Earth. It's more spiritually drawn from. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Yes. I found out about Dolores probably a year after she passed. I think she passed in maybe 2014, 2015, something like that. And, I was just amazed when it got to that point when you were talking to the council, when people's voices would change, and, it was a totally different energy would come through them that actually had the ability to heal them in some cases. You could ask the council to heal you. That just blew me away. And it, just the concept of past lives, at that time I was fairly new to it, and to be new to the concept and then just immediately get introduced to Dolores Cannon was just like I was on the fast track of understanding this. I actually thought about becoming a practitioner myself. Actually, I'm still thinking about doing that actually at some point. But it's just fascinating because now that I have the wellness center, I see more of issues that I can tell are directly related to past lives. And some people already know they've had some form of hypnotherapy, so they'll know. Okay, I was deemed a witch in a former life, and they stuffed something down my throat. So I always have issues with this throat. The doctors can't figure out what it is, and it's not even physical. It is a spiritual soul memory thing that's going on that has to be dealt with at that level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I asked the subconscious one time, because I know in the life between life, we have, like, if we have severe trauma, we go through a shower of releasement. I asked, why isn't everything resolved? And they said it's up to the soul.
Mm-hmm.
So the soul decides to hold on to it for some reason.
Yeah.
A lot of times it's unforgiveness of self or others.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
So
I
it's very
remember one
powerful.
time I was listening to Dolores Cannon, and she
Mhm.
was talking about a client of hers that grew up in a neighborhood where they would spray the neighborhood with this truck. They would say it was for mosquitoes or whatever.
Mhm.
And the kids used to run behind the truck. And as an adult, this woman had cancer. So when they got back to the council, when she was in her session, they asked the council, can you heal her of this cancer? And she said no, because she came here to experience cancer.
Right.
Yes, I thought that was interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Of
And
how we
Yahshua,
plan out things. Yeah.
and in my book, which I'll kind of show you,
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
in my book, Yahshua, Jesus also,
Mm-hmm.
how come it's backwards? Well, it's kind of backwards. So it's called Awakened Memories of the Soul, and it's 24 past life memories with Jesus. Okay. And in there, Jesus said that he can't heal everyone because sometimes they need to go through that experience,
Mm-hmm.
or they need to go through that experience to help their parents on a spiritual journey that
Mm-hmm.
they need to experience,
Mm-hmm.
or both of them. So there's different scenarios. So not everybody can be healed. And I had a woman that had Lyme disease. So we worked on that, and her higher self said she needed that to find the healer. So the person that was going to heal her, there was some kind of connection, probably from the past life. So that was kind of interesting too.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, but most people, if they're open to healing, if they believe they can heal themselves, they can.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I want to clarify something, Charles. When you go to the subconscious, that's different than the council. Okay. The council is in the life between life, where we go in between life and we do our life review. Okay. In the subconscious, you go to that higher self. And that's where the voices can change
Right.
drastically.
Right. Okay. Okay.
And
Yeah.
that's what you did, the subconscious, right?
Yes. 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 Yes.
So, but the council is where we go before the council, and they will kind of give you information about how you can help in the next lifetime,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
which would be this lifetime if we do life between life. So I also do life between life regressions too.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
okay, and that's a different session.
And you're sitting in your space right now, which I have to tell everybody, this is an amazing space. You can see that stained glass back there. She does that. She did that on her own. The ceiling is painted with clouds. So when you're laying in the chair, you're looking up at these clouds. It is an extremely tranquil environment she has here, which is like a little annex to her house. It's like a little church, I love it.
That's what my husband said. I feel like I live in a church.
Yeah, yeah. It has that feel. It feels spiritually clean in there. That's the best way I can describe it.
Thank you.
Yeah. So speaking of your husband and your family, when you announced that this is what you were going to do, how did your family react to this?
Well, my husband, because I just told him I'm going. I didn't ask. And so he knows me. That's the way I am. And so he's like, okay. But he thought it would be like a hobby. That's what he told me.
Mm-hmm.
And then he was afraid I would change, which I did, but in ways that maybe he doesn't understand. So, yeah, he was a little skeptical of it. But now he encourages me, and he accepts it. He does. I can't tell him everything because he's just spiritually not ready for some of that information, but he's very supportive. So that's a really important thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, and my oldest son is, and my youngest son is in a way. but he's married to like a born again Christian woman who thinks I'm going to hell. So, but I love her. We have to just understand that this is where people are sometimes, and just love them for who they are, and just realize that they're kind of shut down spiritually.
And the thing is, though, I think this is becoming more and more mainstream, more than people want to admit.
Yeah.
And so I'm interested in how do your clients come to you? Are they having some sort of revelation? I know me, obviously, I'm actually sending people to you. But when people just come to you on their own, is there something a common denominator that they all have as to why they chose to come? Or is it just different for everybody?
It's pretty well, I guess most people are ready for it, or they have a question about something, or they just feel that they should, or I do have some people curious, but that's less and less. More people want to be more spiritually aware, spiritually awakened. I think that's more recent. Yeah. Yeah, I think, but people come for different reasons. Yeah. Not just one reason, but most people say they want to know, they want to know.
And one thing I think which may surprise a lot of people when they get there is that some of these past lives aren't always human. There could be a lot of different things. A lot of things have souls and are conscious that we may not be aware of until we do something like this. Do you have any examples of people you've seen and they realized that they were a tree or a rock or something like that?
Yeah, I had one interesting gentleman who came and he said he was a tree. I've had other people say they were trees, but this one is the most interesting. I'm talking, and he talks to the trees. I've heard that before. They talk to each other. And so he said that somebody was cutting the tree down. And so I said, is this the end of the soul's existence as a tree? And he said, no. He said, they're making me into a banister. And I said, oh, how does that make you feel? And he said, I love it because everyone's touching me. So I look at banisters different now.
There's an energy exchange there now. Right?
So, yeah. So, And then I've had people from other planets as well. Yeah. So I'm open to everything. And sometimes people come and say, you're going to think this is weird. And I'm like, this is my life. Nothing's weird.
Yeah, people, it really, I think it's liberating for a lot of people, even if you look at things in modern society, like racism, things like that, it changes that perception completely. Now, I actually had a client who, and this is a white woman, from New York, but she had some serious soul memories of when she was a Black woman in the South and was being chased by white mobs. And this still affects her. And if you see her on the street, you would not know this.
No. I had a woman that was married to, in this life, was married to her slave owner. In this life. Do you see what I'm saying? And she was a white woman, and she was a slave, and he was cruel in that life, and he was cruel in this life. She finally left him, though.
Wow.
Which is kind of interesting. Yeah. Wow. So I had people, I had Black women that were Black men or Black women, different, because you could be either race too. You could be a male or a female too. I had a lot of that happening. I had a lot of people that, I don't have a lot, people that are gay, that were gay in a past life, which I thought was interesting. So they chose multiple lives of that experience. So, and we've been everything. That's why the world should just know everything, that we've been everything, and that you're going to be something in this life. Now, a lot of people believe in karma. So, if you're cruel to a certain person, then you have to kind of pay back the next time.
Right.
right? If you do something to someone else.
Mm-hmm.
So, but it's all a learning lesson, so it is what
We're all
it
here to
is.
learn.
Yeah.
And so I wanted you to I saw you pulled up your book, and you actually have a website where people can actually come and
Yeah.
book sessions. There we
Yes.
go.
And
And
it's
is
on Amazon. It's on
okay,
Amazon.
okay,
And it's quite big, I know, but you don't have to read the whole book at once because each individual person has their own experience with Jesus.
hmm
And I had a personal experience with Jesus. I was a shepherd boy and a follower. So I think that's energetically, that's why they connected to me,
hmm
because it's very rare that a therapist has that many people with the same person in the same time frame.
hmm hmm
Because I've had people in Gettysburg, but they didn't know each other and were in different wars and things like that. So,
hmm
and the Holocaust, I've had people. So, so it was very rare. But I was told by someone's collective that I was to write this book, and she spoke in a different language that I can't. I have no idea what language it is. Very different. So
This was a collective speaking to a client of yours.
yeah, she was in the collective. So
Okay.
what we have the subconscious, right? There are
hmm
levels of the subconscious,
Yeah.
higher self, and
hmm
then there's the collective. The collective is the oneness.
hmm
Okay.
hmm
So that's a really high level of
Yeah.
yeah. And I've had several people go to that level.
Okay. Okay.
And a lot of times they get like world knowledge and things
Mhm.
like that.
Do you find that a lot of people, when you regress them and they go into these other lives, they have these striking similarities with what they do right now, like occupation wise, in terms of the energy that they bring to the planet. Sometimes that can show up in what you do for a living and things like that. Do they see the similarities in some of these
And
lifetimes?
some of them, yeah.
hmm
Yeah, and some of the talents too.
Yeah.
Not
Right.
always.
hmm
Because some people will say that they 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 don't know if they're writers or they could write a book or whatever. Well, they were writers in the past life. So do you see? Or artists. Um, so well, people that play the piano at 4 and 3 and like Mozart and things, where does that come from? Past life experiences, right? But
hmm
not everybody does that. But
Right.
some people
Right.
do. Yeah. Or
That
actors.
experience, I had a friend who did it, and they were like, I thought I was just making this stuff up because it's not like you're unconscious. You're conscious, but the way you guide people through this, you're asking them to describe these details. And the same thing happened to me. I'm like, oh, is this how this works? You're asking me, but then I have to think to myself, well, where am I getting this information for these details that I'm coming up with? Like, I can't
It's
make
all
this stuff up. Right?
it's all
It's like,
stored. It's
yes,
stored.
you
It's
realize
stored.
you're pulling it from somewhere. It's like I
Right.
realized I was actually pulling that information from somewhere, and that
Yeah.
blew me away because I couldn't just sit down and make that stuff up, and I had to
No.
think about it, and then things were revealing themselves step by step. It was so interesting,
Yeah.
how that worked out. It's a beautiful modality, as for self discovery and to see how vast your self really is.
Right.
Very vast, cutting
Mhm.
across dimensions, worlds, you name it. But we can learn. You can learn from being a tree. So
Oh yeah.
yeah,
You want to learn from being a rock.
right.
Dolores Cannon said there was a rock person soul. So yeah, everything has energy, and we have to realize that we don't in our daily life we just take things for granted.
hmm
So yeah, it's a powerful way to unfold your soul. Let's put it
hmm
that way,
hmm
and to really look within yourself, your true self,
hmm
because this personality is not who we are.
Right.
Okay, we came down and we have history from family, teachers, you name it, And so we bring that with us sometimes. But once we realize that that's really not who we are. And I think the earth needs to know who we truly are. We are light beings.
Right.
And we have so much more power than we realize. We're not using that power.
I had you come to my office one time to do a group regression, and they loved that. They really loved that. They came out of there like they were all best friends. Everybody was taking each other's phone numbers and everything. I was like, what happened in there?
It was a wonderful group. That was a great group. Yeah, I do group regressions too. And that can be very healing too, because I do healing within that too. Because I don't want you to hold on to anything from a past life.
Right.
So that's where I take you to the life review.
And it was amazing how that process created this bond between these strangers. They never met each other.
They probably did.
Well, yes, honestly, yeah.
They probably did.
I believe that. I believe that wholeheartedly. Is there anything different about how you handle, group sessions as opposed to individual sessions, just from your standpoint?
Well, I try to guide people as much as I can, but a lot of time you're on your own, right? And I would go to significant events in that lifetime, and then you're kind of on your own because in a group we can't all talk about what's going on. So, and then I do the healing work too within that, where I take them to the life review, and that can be more individualized, because if they need particular healing, I'll go to that person and help them to release. Okay, if they need to. So it just depends on what they need to let go of, because we all probably carry something from the past life. I think from my work, sometimes more than others. Sometimes a lot of people have a lot of healing. But again, they have to believe that they can heal themselves after they leave my session.
Right. I believe, I think 2 people came out of there. I think they came together, but they realized that they had some history between the 2 of them when they came out of that session. So something that they walked away and worked on individually. And it came up in the group session with you, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah, I've had a lot of interesting sessions with group, and I had this one woman who was psychic, and so she came up with the exact date, the name, and people in that lifetime, and she looked it up, and she was this famous architect woman in the 1890s or so, 1900s, I can't remember, and they actually give awards in London for those the architects. So that was pretty interesting. I have people that look up information, or they look up the clothing that they see, if they're a visual person, and they write back to me, and they're all excited. And I'm like, yeah, told you so, right? Yeah. Now I wanted to address about people think that they make it up. I do get people that say that to me, okay? What I say to them is, you were in a lighter state of hypnosis, because you have a choice to go deeper. Do you see what I'm saying? It's up to you. And most people do go deep enough. But there are people that are lighter in hypnosis. So they might feel more like themselves. Okay. But I asked them, if you were to make up a story, would this be the story you made up? Does it relate to your current life? Yes. So you have to look at all the variables. So a lot of people say, well, it might be my imagination. I said, imagination comes from somewhere. It's not making it up. So yeah, it's different. So it just depends on what level. And I did have one, I've had like maybe 3 people that didn't remember anything in a past life, which is rare. And the one person was on 98 Rock. Remember, I told you I was on the radio station. Yeah. You can look on the website. He did not remember a thing. He came out of hypnosis and he said, I'm sorry, I fell asleep. And I'm like, no. you had a past life. He actually had a very traumatic past life, but it explained his current life. And he also went into the spirit world and spoke to other people in the spirit world.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So he was kind of in shock.
Mm-hmm.
So, but it was very helpful.
Do you have in any instances where people actually go into the spirit world after death and they're participating in their planning stage of planning their next life?
Yeah, in the life between life. Yeah.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And,
we plan. We
mm-hmm.
plan. We can choose our bodies.
Right.
We can choose our birth date, our families. We have like a contract, what we call, with family members or friends or anybody that comes into our lives. Let's put it that way. We have a contract, and we need to fulfill that contract. You know, that's why we kind of pre-plan it. Like, I want to learn this, right? So maybe you want to learn forgiveness, okay, in this life. And depending on how difficult forgiveness was for you as a soul, it depends on how difficult it will be in this life. Let's put it that way. Okay, so if you choose someone that's does a lot of harm to you, you chose that, but you needed to have somebody that really was difficult in this life, like sexual abuse or physical abuse or murder or whatever. So, and forgiveness of self is usually the hardest thing for people to do.
Right. What do you think? I've heard people say this before, and I always wanted to ask a hypnotherapist, especially QHHT, about this. I've heard people say that, you know, say you want to experience forgiveness, right? And you're at the planning stages on the other side, right? And you go, okay, you're going to pick this role player.
Right.
Who's going to play the role of the person that I need to forgive? Right. And people say, well, that's usually the person that may love you the most on the other side, because they have to do this to you and possibly take on the karma associated with it for you so that you can learn this.
Yes, that happens. Not always. It does happen.
Yeah.
Because it's not one way. People have to understand there's not just one thing. It's so immense that we can't even comprehend all scenarios. Do you see what I'm saying? So,
yeah.
But we still choose it. But there's a great book. It's supposed to be a children's book by Neil Donald Walsh about the little boy in the sun. I think that is it. I have it. But it's about what this little soul wants to learn forgiveness, right? And so he asked God, I want to learn forgiveness in this life. And so God says, well, ask a friend. So he goes and asks his best friend and his soul friend. And so he said, will you help me learn forgiveness? And his little friend has this chest, and he puts on this dark cloak. I'm getting chills again because it's so beautiful. And he said, just remember, I always love you. I will put on a dark cloak of darkness, and I will do terrible things, but I will always love you. So it was like, okay.
Yes, that part right there, that's very hard for people to wrap their heads around.
I know.
But you know, the beautiful thing I'm seeing, it's like they're trying to teach this vocabulary to children. If you look at some of these movies, I was watching the movie Soul. I think it's Jamie Foxx plays the guy in the movie. He dies as soon as the movie starts. He falls in a manhole, dies, right? So most of the movies in the spirit realm. But you'll see these little souls going around, and they're going into these schools. And I think one school, the top of it was labeled like asshole. They were going to the school to learn how to be an asshole so they could come down to earth and be this asshole for people who needed to learn lessons from them. And it's like they're showing this to children. You know, we didn't see that when we were young. We got the super friends. We didn't get this deep metaphysical stuff, but you think about it, that's creating the new adult who will understand these things in the future.
That's called Soul. I'll have to see that. That's really
out. It's a Pixar movie.
Is it like characters then?
It's cartoon.
Like cartoons.
Yeah. It's a cartoon. It is very, very deep. You know, so I'm looking really at what they're showing children now. You know.
Now, I would recommend for everybody to watch an old movie called What Dreams May Come.
Oh yes, yes,
Very
yes.
powerful.
Excellent. That's an excellent movie to help understand this.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Now
Uh,
you have to get through the beginning. It's very sad. Okay.
the whole movie was sad to me. It was.
Well, no, the ending was wonderful. Well, not really. Some of it was, but it's about how we create our heaven and we create
Mhm.
our own hell,
Yeah.
basically.
The
Yeah.
interesting thing with that movie is I had the DVD when it came out, and
Yeah.
they had the deleted scenes, and
Ah,
so they had an alternate ending that wasn't the one that was in the theatrical version, where she was born in India and she was a leper. And when
ah,
they said that they wanted to come back, they said, well, she's going to be a leper and she's not going to be with you long. And then they show the same scene from the beginning where they have the two little boats, and then but it's a
yeah.
little Indian girl.
Oh,
And he loses her early, but they decided to come down and do it anyway, fall in love again, even though he wouldn't have her for a short period of time. Now, I guess the public couldn't handle that for
no,
some
I don't think
reasons.
so.
That's right. So he didn't make that the ending, but that
Well, I
was the
think
original ending.
a lot of the public couldn't handle some of the other stuff too in there.
Yeah,
I took two friends who weren't really awakened, let's put it that way, and they
yeah.
hated the movie. So I was like, how could you hate this movie? So, and visually, it's beautiful too. So I tell people if you're connected to a particular time in history, then you were probably there,
Mhm,
or a
mhm,
country, because, I'm connected to Egypt very much and Israel as well. I've been to both countries
mhm,
and I felt a connection there when I was there too.
mhm.
And Ireland too, I felt a connection. So if you're in a different country and you feel like you've been there, I had this one gentleman who was German, who wasn't German, I'm sorry, was German in a past life, which I found out, the Nazi I told you about.
Mhm.
So when he went to Germany, he asked where the railroad station was, and they said it hasn't been here, since the war. It's been gone since the
Oh,
war.
wow.
So he recognized certain, and I've had people say they recognize certain houses or certain things in their life. That's not always the case, but it happens sometimes, or
Mhm.
memory, or in your dreams, right?
Right, right, right.
Yeah, because I've had people say, I think this was a past life, and they'll give me this description. I'm like, yeah, that's past life. That's very detailed.
Mhm,
So, yeah. So, especially our most recent experience,
mhm.
I think we can have flashbacks or things like that too. Have you ever had a flashback from the past life?
Oh, who, me?
Mhm.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Things would trigger certain things. I remember.
Yeah.
I know I have a very strong connection to India.
Indeed.
In
Oh,
fact, if you look above me, that's an Indian Hindu deity named Hanuman.
oh, okay.
I would drive. Sometimes I would drive to Miami, and you have to
Mhm.
pass through Georgia, and you would see this red clay, the red clay dirt they have down there in Georgia. You'd see it off the highway sometimes. It would immediately trigger memories of places in India where they have this red clay. And I remember talking to one of my Indian coworkers at the time, and I was telling him about that. And he was like, "No, there's a place that's like that. That the ground is red. It's the earth is red."
Mhm.
And even in my session with you, I was an Indian woman. The first thing I did is I looked down at my feet and I said, "My feet are pretty. I must be a woman. Just pretty
Yeah, I don't
feet."
remember. I don't hold on to people's
Like,
stuff. I can't
well,
remember.
I surely remember.
So were you were in India,
I was
right?
in India.
Yeah.
I was in
Okay.
India and I was a woman. And
Hmm.
my children, I even recognized some of my children as some of my current children.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah,
yeah.
we can do that. Not always, but
Mhm.
because we can change what I call soul groups. Okay.
Yeah.
When we do life between life,
Hmm.
uh, I introduce you to your soul group, ask you to find them.
Hmm.
And so we can change our soul group as we evolve. Like maybe you would evolve faster than somebody else in your family
Hmm.
or a friend, then we would have a different soul group. Does that make sense to
Oh
you?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. So.
So So it's not a judgment, we're not here to judge anybody because everybody's been everywhere. We've been to many past lives and we've had issues probably and done things, because I've had people that murdered other people. I've had Nazis. I've had Roman soldiers that killed people and, Vikings, you name it. So,
Yeah.
but we chose there are no victims. So we chose that life to experience it for some reason, or to have our parents experience it, to overcome it. It's like someone that loses a child, which I know is unimaginable because I have 2 children. And you do too. You have a child too, right?
3.
So
yeah.
3. Oh. So, and that would be horrible. I understand. But some people just never get over it. And their whole life is miserable. And some people do something wonderful in memory of that person. And they can move on. I'm sure everybody knows somebody that does that.
I found that's one of the hardest things for people to get a grasp of, is that they're not a victim. And I'm not sure if it's something that's programmed into us from society, where we think life is happening to us, and not for us, and even orchestrated by us at some level. That's very hard, because the first thing they say is, well, why would I do this to myself?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, because I tell people, when you're in the spirit world and you're a soul, you're wiser than beyond you can imagine. So you're like all excited. I want to learn this. I want to learn that. And so you're like, I can do this. I can do that. And then you come down here and you're like, what?
Right.
So what did I choose now?
This feels real.
But you want to learn faster. If you have a lot of stuff going on, you probably wanted to learn faster.
Yeah.
And your counselor will probably say, you might want to think about that. But they don't stop you. I mean, we have free will there too.
We're here remembering. We purposely forget, and we come down to remember our favorite puzzle that we like to put together. Right? We already know what the puzzle looks like when it's complete, but we're coming down here to put it together again. And one lifetime, we may start in the middle and see what that feels like putting together from that vantage point. Right? We may start over on the corner and put it together, but we know what the puzzle looks like when it's done. But one vantage point may be you come here and you're poor. The other one, you come here and you're filthy rich. Yeah,
I had that too, because I have a lot of issues with balance. Either you were extremely poor and happy, and you were extremely rich and miserable. Do you see what I'm saying?
And that's the contrast that we want, this contrast.
But then also you can be very powerful in one life and abuse your power. In this life, you're powerless. So there has to be that balance there.
Yes.
Just like humbleness and somebody that's like narcissistic,
Right.
So maybe you chose narcissism. So
how can people get a hold of you? So your website, and I'll display it on the screen as well too.
Yeah, just get a hold of me. I have a website, and just there's a part that you fill out, and I'll contact you through my email.
Okay. And the book is do you have a link to your book on the website?
Yes. And it's on Amazon, and I also have it on Kindle. If you like.
Okay.
I know younger people don't read books as much as I do. I love books. I love to hold books.
Right.
But I think that's an older person. I don't know. But because I have a library of books, and I read them every once in a while. So, but I know some people like Kindle better. So that's why I put it on.
Okay. It was a pleasure having you on. Great talking to you. Please tell your husband I said hello. I did meet him when I came there. He was outside. So
I will.
Tell him I said hello. All right.
Okay. All right.
Like I always say, folks, You are unstoppable. No one can stop you but you. Don't dim your light for anyone and love yourself. Until the next episode. Take care.
Yeah, take care. Bye.